And we are on.
Are we recording?
Yes, ma'am.
Fab. Okay, so hi everybody, my name's Luwi. I'm from a podcast called You Are the Salt, and I do everything to do with personal development, finding your purpose, and also finding purpose in God. So that's a bit about me. Okay, so what makes me me? I think there's so many ways I can answer that question, but it really started. Well, I'll give you a bit of background. So I grew up in a Christian home, and when I got to university, that was when I really started to align my beliefs with my actions. Like in my last year of uni, is when I really started to live out like that Christian faith. And then as you get into the working world, I found myself kind of slipping into the way of the world. So thinking of things of like success, climbing the ladder, that type of thing. And I found myself going for this job that was about 2 hours away from where I was living at the time. And I could sense within myself that I got to the point where I was kind of doing a by the way to God. So like, I kind of want to do things and then just tell God, like, by the way, I'm going to do this, rather than like seeking God's face and thinking, okay, what does God want me to do? So it led me to take this job that I really hated. It led me to be around all these people that were just not right for me. And essentially I got fired from my job, and that really got me to surrender everything to God. Because I just knew that everything that had happened was for a reason, and God was ordaining it to happen to get me to be at the point where I'm like at the feet of God, like, asking God, what is my next step? Where should I go? And it was also like a time of reflection. So once that had happened, I had met this lady called Leah Chilengwe, and she was a life coach. And I just felt something within my spirit that told me, like, you can do something like that. I didn't necessarily think I'm going to do life coaching, but I just thought I want to do something to do with personal development. So looked into life coaching. I was like, this thing is actually kind of cool. Like, let me just do this.
Yeah.
And so I started focusing on life coaching, and that was at the same time I was doing Next Chapter. So I couldn't really give it my full attention. And then the podcast came as like an extension of my life coaching.
Before we get to the podcast, like, you already went into another like next chapter. Like, what's that like? What's involved in it? How did you get into that? Because I think before you got into the podcast, you had that, didn't it?
Yeah.
So
how I got into it. So it's an interesting story. So ZOCF, I feel like I have to really explain these things because there's just so many intricate bits. So my family have been going to ZOCF like events for the longest time.
What's
so
ZOCF?
Zambian Overseas Christian Fellowship.
Okay.
And so it's like, yeah, so we used to go to it when I was young, and I was just like, I really don't want to do this. But then when I got older, they started doing these women events, and I was like, okay, it's kind of cool. So I went to my first one, and I met these two girls, and I started, getting to know them, becoming close with them. And so because one of the ladies who was in charge of ZOCF in terms of like the women's ministry, she was like, okay, you guys, I can see that you guys are committed to this. I want you guys to start bringing like young people to the ZOCF Women's Conference. So we're like, okay, we have to do it because our auntie has told us to do this. So we need to find ways. So when we were trying to talk about the ways that we can get young people to come to the conferences, we started going into like things like, why are Zambian people not connected in the UK? How come Nigerians and these other people, they're so connected, they do all these things, and we're just so fragmented? And then one of the girls, her name is Pendo, she was like, I think you guys would really think this organization that I've been working with really cool. You should come onto a call. So myself and this girl called Babusa, we came onto a call with the Next Chapter team.
Yeah.
And we were just like chatting, and they were asking us all these questions, and we were asking them questions, and they were like, wow, these girls are on fire. They thought we were really, really cool, and they thought that we would be great on the team. And then the next day, Pendo was like, guys, the team love you. And the thing is, we didn't go on the call to like join the team. We just went on to find out a bit more about it. But she was like, guys, the team really love you, and they would love you guys to be part of like the Next Chapter team. So I was just like,
they already like absorbed you in the very first encounter.
Yeah. Yeah, they were like, we like these girls, we want them to join. And so I started going to some of the meetings, and I was like, I'm sold. Like, I love it. They were like so committed to the cause, and I could see how I could also put like my own footprint into this whole thing. So so I was really excited to be part of Next Chapter, and I didn't even know that it was part of ZOCF. And then I got to find out that it's part of ZOCF. But yeah, so Next Chapter is basically it's a Zambian organization which focuses on empowering young adults to reach their full potential. And yeah, that's what Next Chapter is for people that don't know what it is.
Okay. Then
where you
how
where are they based?
Sorry?
Like where's the headquarters?
So we don't really have headquarters, but on paper, headquarters are in Wolverhampton, so in the UK. But we don't have like a office or anything, because it's basically a charity, and we just kind of put our time into it.
Okay.
Awesome.
And how did that lead up to the podcast itself?
So Next Chapter didn't really lead up to the podcast. It was more so like the life coaching which led to the podcast.
Okay.
But
so just like
Next Chapter did wanna have a podcast.
Oh, okay. So like you got very active with the life coaching. Like what were you doing specifically with the life coaching? Were you having workshops, presentations, like those TED Talks and stuff? Like how were you doing it?
So all the events, all that stuff, all that event energy was just put on Next Chapter, because like I said, that took up so much of my time. So my life coaching, I used to just do one-on-one sessions, essentially. I used to do one-on-one sessions with people online, and we'd do it via Zoom or sometimes over the phone. But yeah, it was just like an hour session, and they'll come and they'll say like, I want to talk about the fact I'm really unmotivated, and then we'll talk through that and figure out a way to get them unmotivated, for them to stop being unmotivated. But when it came to the whole event stuff, like I really wanted to do an event with Next Chapter, but it never happened. But stuff like events I want to do more in the future, like my own projects in the future.
Okay.
But I can't this year because it's just been so difficult.
So how did the podcast happen?
Yeah, it's difficult for almost everybody.
Oh yeah. Because of the C thing.
The C word. I guess
because right now, Moses, how is it on YouTube? Are we censored with that word? Because we used it in the last one. I don't know how that fared. Because
the virus. They censored everything. What do you mean?
Like they're actually taking down some videos where you mention it, like even in passing. They're just like, you're not supposed to say it.
Why? Are you sure?
Yeah.
I've heard YouTubers say, "Oh, I can't say the word," but I don't know why they can't say it.
It's okay. There's a lot that went behind it, like the conspiracy in China, yada yada, and also a lot of people spreading misinformation over the topic. So yeah, there's quite a number of...
But we've been basically saying the videos haven't been taken down yet. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's with the accents.
Of course.
So we've been basically saying, word coronavirus for like...
Don't say it just in case. Oh God.
Oh, I shouldn't say it?
Yeah, that's why I just went like the C thing.
I'm sure people know what the C thing is.
Yeah. If they don't, then I'm sorry. All right. So like, how did you come to the podcast, and how is it faring? Like, is it challenging? Is it really helping with the life coaching, life skills coaching?
I think so. My plan with the podcast was just because I wasn't coaching that many people. I was coaching about 3 people at the time. And I was like, you know, I want more people to know about my message. I want more people to also know about Kingdom Life Coaching, why I started it, like the story behind it. So that's why I started doing the podcast. And my thought behind it was I really wanted to be intentional. So I was like, I'm only going to do like 10 episodes per season. And to be honest, in the beginning, I was like, maybe I'll just do one season a year, because I was like, I don't know. I don't really know if I want to commit to so many seasons per year.
Mm-hmm.
And I also wanted to make sure that the things I talked about were really like things I've thought about, things from my heart. But I think the more I did it, the more.
How many episodes per season?
So 10 episodes per season is what I try and do.
Yeah.
But I think the more that I went into it, I was like, there's actually so much to talk about. And like people have started coming to me with suggestions of things. So it's just kind of grown and grown. And yeah, I think people mainly come to my Instagram for the podcast. And it's just funny because it was meant to kind of like bring people to the life coaching, but it's kind of done a flip. So, because Peter, you asked me what was like the link between Nxt Chapter and the life coaching or the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think there was actually a link, because I think God was preparing me through Nxt Chapter, because I was in Nxt Chapter for like a year. I just came, you know, I wasn't even planning to be a part of Nxt Chapter. I came, and then they were like, Luwi, we want you to be president. They were like forcing me. They would not let me go until I said yes.
Yeah.
And I said yes, and they believed in me. And to be honest, I was like, I really want to do my own, because at that time I still wanted to do my own projects. I wanted to do the life coaching, X, Y, and Z. But then I thought, let me just give them a year and see what happens. And I think that year was very transformational for me. It really pushed me out there. It really gave me a good network of people. I got to really use skills and learn from the team, like the people in the team, like Anderson, he's like a senior project manager for like some big companies. We have Emmanuel, who's like an entrepreneur, like, and just my colleagues who were also students as well. They were really committed, and I learned so much from them, and just also the role itself. So I think it really prepared me for what I then did with the life coaching and the podcast. And even a lot of the people that I have on the podcast, I met on that journey through Nxt Chapter, like, you know, Esther, Caroline Marsh, loads of people. So I think it's really contributed, and God knew what he was doing through me.
Yeah.
Nxt Chapter first, I think. Yeah.
For the training, do you do one-on-one trainings? Like, that's kind of vague for me. Like, do you get that interaction with your, I don't know, your clients?
So, what I like about life coaching is literally a conversation. So it's not necessarily like, you know, this is how you do this, A, B, C, and this is what you have to do. It's like a conversation that opens someone's mind. So I think a lot of times people have the answers within themselves, or like they know what they need to do. And there's actually something psychological that you are more likely to commit to things when you believe that you're the one who's, you know, thought of it, rather than someone telling you to do this. So it kind of uses that psychology of like, we have this conversation, you get time to really think, because I think also a lot of people don't have time to think and think things through and think it in a structured way and have someone to guide them into that decision. And then, so then you help people come to a conclusion. But in terms of like the HR aspect of like the coaching that I do, I would do that through courses or workshops, which I haven't been able to do yet. And I'm still debating if I should do it online or not, but I would rather do it in person than online, I think.
I think it's more engaging if like you're there in person with a person, because I feel a slight disconnect with people when I'm using these gadgets, whether it's phone calls or what. It feels more personal when you're actually talking to someone, especially people who have that element like of faith. You know, there's a difference in being seated with someone and saying, "Whoa, this is what I believe. This is what I'm sharing with you." You actually get to see it in their eyes that they're actually picking up information. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, like, even when it came to Nxt Chapter, like, all of us were based in different areas. So I was in Cambridgeshire, had somebody in London, somebody in Manchester. And so we needed, Skype or like anything like this for us to do what we needed to do. But but we did meet up maybe every 4 months, and it made it really special, like the meeting up, like we didn't take it for granted. So I totally get what you're saying. It's like when you're in person, there's just something that happens when you're in person. But I also think like amazing things can happen when you're online, like as long as everyone's committed to it.
Yeah, that's the key thing, the commitment. I've seen these attempts to do, like most of the schools are actually attempting to do distant learning. Is it distance learning? Distant learning. English is tricky. Yeah. So it's been funny. Like I usually have to help out some of my clients. Like they'll be like, "Oh, can you select a proper laptop for me?" And then you pick it up and then set it up for the kids. And then the challenges they still face with the schools. There's some big schools where you actually expect them to be using those two sets. I don't know. I think I don't know what to say.
It's with capacity as well. It's with capacity. One thing I've just seen is like Zambian schools, like a lot have not built capacity to be ready for this period, and it might not even translate to them not having the skills. It might just mean that maybe there was no appropriate contingency plan that they had in place. So it's quite mind-boggling as well. You might think, no, they're just doing it deliberately, but it's just what it is, man.
I think there are things that society always has to adjust to. So it might be hard in the beginning, just like this, but eventually they have to. You have to get used to it, I guess, because
and remember we had a problem with like streaming. You know, like a lot of people wouldn't like get on a platform to just stream content. But now, if I've seen like a bunch of people going live and a lot of people streaming that live stream, you know. So it is a blessing in a way, and a blessing and a curse. If
two double-edged swords.
Yeah. How are people finding it? Because obviously there's like load shedding and stuff like that. How does that work? Do they plan when all of this happens? Like
you have to. Like for me specifically, power goes usually around 6 to 10 or 12, and that would mean I have to be elsewhere. Like I have to escape my cave. That means I won't work with my beautiful desktop, you know, that type of thing. So people have to work with those timings. But in some places it's terrible. Like like in some places it changes like 6 to 12, and then the next day it's 14 to 17, and then the next day like okay, to cycle through, it does something else.
It's not that bad. You might find just we experience load shedding for just like an hour tops.
In the area
at my parents' place, but when I'm in Northmead, power goes at around 6, then come back at around 12 hours. Yeah, so it's quite different.
It's crazy.
The areas that experienced bad load shedding when the load shedding thing started, there are the places now that are experiencing less of pattern and everything.
There's some places that don't even have it at all. Like what's it? There's an area in Channel. One of my clients is there.
Ghana.
Oh, Ghana.
Yeah, sorry. This one of my friends said, because I was saying, oh, like, do you not get that in Ghana? He's like, no, we don't have load shedding. I was like, oh, I thought it was just all across Africa, but he doesn't. Because even South Africa has it.
Yeah, South Africa has it
So
too.
I was really shocked that Ghana
I'm
doesn't.
actually curious. Did you ask him like how they managed to do that?
No, I didn't. I didn't really push it, but I just took his word for it, and
that would be a curious thing to like get to know.
That's interesting, eh?
Yeah, like.
But there was a time we did experience this as well.
That we didn't have load shedding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the I think the main thing was the technologies we've been using for things like the Zesco turbines and stuff like that. That's Asian technology.
Yeah.
So it had reached its end of days period, like mostly I think after 2000 somewhere there. So it was expected that renovations had to be done, rebuilding of the infrastructure, and also small towns have become reasonably big now. So even the consumption is high and stuff, and the capacity hasn't really increased, I would say. So
yeah,
it was inevitable.
So have you guys always lived in Lusaka? Have you always been in Lusaka or ventured out?
Okay, so
I've always been in Lusaka.
Man, I like how me and Moses contrast each other. Like he's only been in Lusaka, and I've been in places.
No, but I've traveled like almost all the parts of 3/4 of the parts of the country. But
that's amazing. I don't think I've done that.
I've literally been in Lusaka. And I was born here.
Wow.
In Lusaka
boy. Fair enough.
Yeah.
You're Lusaka through and through.
Literally. So if someone asks me what a Lusaka accent is, you have that.
Yeah.
Like you are like Lusaka. Okay.
Who has a Lusaka accent?
I don't even have a Zambian accent. Like any language I try to use is broken. And even the places I went to learn their languages, it's broken. So I am a nobody.
How did that happen? Peter, how did that happen? You live in Zambia.
So 2 weeks after I was born in Solwezi. Sorry? Huh?
So there's a bad lag, sorry.
Oh,
yeah, there is a bit.
2 weeks after I was born in Solwezi, we went to Botswana. And I stayed there up to the end of primary, then went to Mpelembe while our family was still in Botswana. Then after grade 12, I went to Russia. So, yeah.
Okay.
So I was supposed to learn languages.
I used to live near Mpelembe.
Oh.
I used to live near Mpelembe when I was young. So I don't know if you noticed it. So Kidsway, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was in Kidsway, right?
Yes.
Muyu Close. It's literally as you're going, it's like maybe the 3rd street down from Mpelembe.
Okay, the problem is I was mostly an inside person. Like when Moses Sotumel mentions we're introverts, I'm one too. So like even in Mpelembe, the moment I would be coming from from Botswana straight into Mpelembe. From Mpelembe straight to Botswana. And then when I'm with my family, Livingstone most of the time. Yeah, so that's why.
Wow. That's so different.
It was a strange dream. I dreamt my mother was telling me some things, and she passed away like recently. And I held her hand. It was very weird. Very weird. Then my girlfriend also had a dream like that, but her mother is still around. She also dreamt of her mother and her father who passed away same day. Very
that is very interesting. Wow. Do you think it's got a message to it?
I hope so. Except the way I work with my faith, I don't wait for signs and wonders. I just do what I have to do. I think something similar to what you had said earlier, like you do not really wait for God to show you, like, you should do this. You just decided to do it, trusting.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That was, I didn't think that was a good thing.
You don't think it was a good thing?
No, for me, yeah, because I was acting out of like selfish ambition rather than like having a mindset of God, and then like, I'm just going to do it, but God's my focus. It wasn't quite like that. It was more like, I just want to do this. I'm going to do it.
Like I've chosen for myself, this is what I think is right, and I'll do it. That type of thing. Like it was all on you.
It was kind of like I didn't really care. Like I cared what God thought, but I was pretending to kind of seek his face in it. So I'd be like, God, what do you want me to do? And like, I felt like at that point in my faith, I could have discernment, but even if I didn't feel like God was saying anything, or even if I didn't have discernment to do stuff, I just decided to do what I wanted to do. And I think what I learned for me was that I need to have that discernment. I need to, you need to have people that are godly as well, that can help you make good decisions.
Yeah, because after you had said that, when you entered into having to have decided to start doing life skills coaching, you did mention that now you were doing what you believe God was actually directing you to do. So I got the contrast. So I was trying to recall the previous part where you said you just went for what you believed you needed to do at the time. It's a peculiar thing I tend to ask myself, because I also had a similar choice to make. I think that was just after I came back from Livingston, turning my back on my mom. You know, I'm like, I know this is what I'm destined to do. You know, that type of thing. God has put it in me. It was a very strange period. I feel like now it's clear that I had to have that. Let me just say, the prodigal moment. Like, you know, God is trying to say something, but then I am the one who's actually deaf to hear what he's saying. So later I saw that the path was not the way I wanted it to be, even though it was the same direction. The path or the steps to that place were very different. The way you had Nxt Chapter kind of paving the way to like the current you, like it now makes sense. Every interaction you had, the way it felt, like the responsibilities, like even heading the operation. I don't know. I have very strange use of words. Man, I wish I knew Bemba. Yeah. So I just wonder, what would you say generally for most people? Like I understand how delicate it is to say, I am a life coach, I'm training you to do something. Like you mentioned HR, so like managing time, your skills and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm just throwing things around. I think that one really needs a lot of like not just, I won't use the word discernment, like I would say discernment, but a very affirmative stance. Like, you know for sure you have information that is sufficient for these people that are listening. Do you right now, like in the place that you're in, are you in that point, that perspective? Like when you do your life coaching, whether it's through the podcast and so on, do you feel like this is definitely what God wants me to do? Like, is this what it is? Yeah.
I think so. The thing is, so my background's in terms of like my faith has been quite like I came from like a Baptist background, but it was very, what word should I use? Conservative, I guess.
Yeah.
So I was never someone who overly believed in like signs and stuff like that. Like I believe in prayer and stuff like that, but what God showed me through that whole period of like me losing my job, me seeking his face, God really spoke to me and put things on my heart. And when God really put on my heart that you need to change your focus and make it on the kingdom, focus on God, focus on me. And I was praying to God, like, what should I do? What should I do with my life? Like, you know, which direction should I go? And I got peace. I got the peace of God to say that I can do whatever I want to do, so long as I have got so long as I focus on the kingdom, I can do whatever I want. And so even within that, there's just things that I'll do differently. If I'm focusing on the kingdom, there's just things that I'll do completely differently. And one thing I was passionate about, I just followed my passion. So, I mean, I don't know how long I'll be doing this for, but I know it's something that I'm going to be doing for a long time, especially something like within personal development, because I've changed a lot in my life and I've developed myself, and life has just taught me so many things, and I'm a very reflective person. So now when I think back at it and when people speak to me, they're like, yeah, Luwi, it makes so much sense that you'd be doing a podcast. It makes so much sense that you'd be doing a life coach, because I naturally already have those skills.
Yeah.
And in terms of the podcast, I do feel like God is in this because, you know, yeah, because I feel like it's just kind of growing organically, and wherever it takes me, whether I don't stay on the podcast, but I do something further, or, you know, it opens bigger doors, like who's to say that that wasn't the path that God had for me? I think I'm just trying to trust God completely. And I love stories like Joseph, you know, stories like Joseph, David, like where you really see them transition, and there's so many different things that happen. And, you know, you think like, oh, this podcast is going to be my big break, or this thing is going to be like what changes things. But you honestly just don't know. And I just trust in God, and I just kind of leave it to God. But yeah, I think right now, I definitely feel like the podcast is what I'm meant to be doing. I'm connecting with people like you guys.
Yeah.
And it's also really testing my faith, I think, because when you say stuff like, you have to be living according to the things that you say, and I take that very seriously. So it makes me really reflect on like my life, and if I say things, I make sure that I say what I mean. And in terms of like my audience, I focus on people that are where I used to be. So I don't claim to have all the answers, but I claim to help people who are maybe just starting out in their career, which is something I've been through, and I can help people through that, or, you know. So yeah, I don't claim to have all the answers or the questions. I do try and make sure that I train myself up. So I did like a life coaching course, and I did training. I used to be part of this association called Toastmasters, which helps with like your public speaking, communication. So I did that for like a year, and that's just what some people just do it because like work sends them to do that, but I chose to do that myself. And I can use all these things that I invest in myself to help other people, so that their journey is just smoother than mine.
I think I like where you went with all of this. Like, just you know, I had something to say first, and then you added something at the end. Because I said before, like in the last on our session with you, like when we're the subjects, I say knowledge is one powerful element.
Check out my podcast, You're the Soul. They are going to be on it.
Yeah. So I was like, knowledge is one of the most crucial things for Christians. And then I like that you gave an example of Joseph and David. There's one very strong characteristic they had, and it was fearlessness. And they did not just have fearlessness, they had knowledge of why they should be fearless. I mean, a small boy facing this giant Goliath who has been throwing around people and believes that he can take him down. It takes a lot of courage. And that's why I actually, when the way you are talking, like you actually have to pay so much attention to the words you speak. You have to be ready for those people. Like you were in their position, you have that experience, so you have to be in that place. The faint of heart cannot manage such a role. And it's just amazing, like the way you just brought up David and Joseph. Like it's very easily fits into the way you have moved, because I wouldn't really expect in David's story, to say that 12-year-old went into the temple like Jesus and was speaking to the Pharisees, answering biblical questions. He just had the knowledge that God exists and he belongs to God, you know, that type of thing. So whatever steps they were taking, even Joseph, whatever instances were facing, being sold and what, God was always the one pulling him out of it. And all he had to do was keep himself the way he knows he has to be, not giving into Potiphar's wife and so on and so on. It's those characteristics are very rare. And when you find them in people, they do the things that you do. Like, it takes that type of a person to do that. Okay, sorry, Moses. Yeah.
I had a question. Let's say finding purpose or finding a passion which later gives you the drive gives you the purpose, per se. So what does it mean for you, Luwi, to what does it mean for the purpose in a way? Because I believe the purpose itself gives you the drive, the tenacity, the self-belief. So for somebody who doesn't know, because you talked about focusing on God, what does it mean to follow God's direction, and what does it mean to find purpose?
So I think, okay, so what does it mean to follow God's direction? So I think for me, what it means is definitely starting with the Bible, like understanding what the gospel's about, understanding what God's about, living your life in a way that God is happy with. But outside of that, I think there's just certain things that we a lot of times don't think about. So like if you go to university, think about it. When you're a kid, you're always told what to do. You know, you go to school, you should study this, you should do this. There's not a lot of time to really think outside the box. And so I think finding purpose is actually removing and dismantling the things that everybody tells you to do, or the things that you should do, and actually listening to God's voice. Because when you're outside of the matrix, you're able to hear things, and you're able to kind of find ways about going things a completely different way. I hope that answers the question. And then the second part, I feel like a lot of times people think, okay, to do my passion, it means I have to make money. Sometimes I think your passion might just be something that you do alongside your 9 to 5. Sometimes your passion might be the thing that makes you millions. Like, you just don't know. And I think God gives people what they're able to handle. Like, you know, when Saul said, God, don't give me riches if it's gonna, make me turn away from you. Some people, riches and fame will make you turn away from God. And maybe that's why you're never gonna be able to have that. But you might make, so much impact in people's lives. I think of Malcolm X. He made so much impact in people's lives, but he wasn't a millionaire or anything like that. So I think purpose, is something that we all have within us. We know what makes us tick. We know what we enjoy. I'll give you another example. I remember when I went to visit my sister-in-law, and I was saying to her, like, I just really want to do something that helps young women and really empowers them, gives them personal development. And I just said it flippantly. And then when she came to visit me this year, she was like, Luwi, you're doing everything that you wanted to do. And like, I don't even remember having that conversation with her. But that purpose and that desire was always in there, even though I forgot that I even said it to her. So I think your purpose is kind of locked in with who you are. And when you're able to hear God's voice, he can speak louder to you, and you can kind of have a pathway of getting there. Yeah. It's a bit of a flowery answer, but
as in that's the way faith talks, like when you people don't take for granted these small things. If you're going to wake up in the morning, you open your eyes, my friend, a lot of things have happened. Your brain has pushed out all these type of neurons. Your muscles are already tensing up to get you off the bed. You don't know how many millions of steps have taken. And the way we talk, Christians, there are those who can give one word and then you're just like, wow. Yeah, I get it. And then others who have to it's like poetry. When you're actually speaking to someone passionately, it always comes out poetic. It means more when you have expressed it. So I actually get the way you say it. It's saying flowery. Moses knows I'm the most irritating person when I start.
Yeah. But I think a lot of my drive as well comes from like unlocked potential. So when I think like I've changed completely, like so much in my life, and I think it's that kind of thing where sometimes your environment creates who you are, and when you're pushed into a different, you know, dynamic, sometimes it pushes you closer to who you're actually meant to be. But anyway, I felt like there were so many things that I naturally had and I never knew were gifts or that I could use because the environment that I was in didn't really see it as valuable. And then when I changed environments, you know, you start realizing, actually, this is a skill. Actually, I can do this. Actually, I can make a, you know, a difference with what I have. And I think when I think back to that little girl or that younger girl, and I think, you know, I want to be that person for that young girl, to be like, you know, you actually have got gifts and you have got a skill and you have talents, and it's just about unlocking it. Because I think there's so many people that I don't know what stops us, but there's just something that tells you like, oh, I can't do this, or I'm not going to achieve this, or, you know, I mean, not everybody's like that, but I know there's people that are like that, and I just want to shake them and wake them up and be like, you're wasting your life. There was a time when this lady passed away in my life, and it really got me. She died at the age of 40, and that just really shook my core about like a year and a half. And everything that I wanted to do, I just started doing it because I'm like, you can't put things off for, I'm going to do this in 50 years. Life is not guaranteed. You just have to live and be thankful for the days that you have and do what you can in that moment.
Yeah.
I
love how you say like you have to be there for that younger you. Like I'm sure that's the same image you have for your audience when it comes to your skills training. It reminded me a bit of a conversation I had with Moses. One moment where, because I've got a lot of friends who, Muka, I want to do this, and you're like, I don't think you're really into it. And then for sure they would fall out. But then the time we started teaching in the community, Moses was like, the way we're doing this, like, what's the plan? What's the purpose? Like he's asking me the progression of things. He actually expressed himself in a way like he saw what I was doing with Tumelo. Then he was like, no, but you know, even like doing the service thing, like teaching them how to handle services and stuff, it's an essential skill. He put himself into that space because when he was saying it, it felt very personal. Like these are skills he's picked up for himself, and he wants them to impact someone else the way they impact him. Because when he talks, when he talks his business language, I even say, you are the reason why I'm very persistent. It's because you have that drive, you know. Then people waste that potential. Like our experiences are meant to be a testimony to others. Like it's a very strong and passionate thing. I wouldn't be as confident doing these podcasts if it wasn't for Moses and Tumelo. There's small things like, you know.
A great speech. Thank you, Muka. Thank you. But
you're not welcome.
What I wanted to say, bruh, I know Muka. But yeah, in line with mindset change and changing where you are, like for the people that do not really know what their purpose is, what their passions are, does that help them develop, run through this? Is that something you advise them to do, like changing scenery and maybe just for once travel or go for a vacation?
100%. I think there's basic skills that everyone should learn, like, you know, organization skills, being able to deal with money, knowing how to deal with your emotions. Like there's a set of things that I think everyone should have a basic or a general understanding on. But I think there's things that we're just naturally good at that we need to really tap into. So I remember when I started working at one of my first jobs, like I got this book called the Strength Finder, and the whole purpose of the book, I might even have it here. do I have it? I didn't read all of it, but we were meant to read all of it at work. I didn't read all of it. But yeah, it's basically The Strength Finder by Tom Rath. And it talks about how our whole lives we're told to focus on the things that we're not good at. So it's like, oh my gosh, I got a C. Okay, I need to make sure that C is an A. And he was like, what if we flipped it and we started focusing on the things that we're good at and becoming experts in those things. So I think people need to find a way to do that. And I think the best way to do that is getting to know yourself. So actually spending time with yourself, getting to know yourself, whether that's through therapy or being reflective, writing things down, and seeing who you are in different situations. So like you said, traveling is a great way. Traveling, meeting new people that think differently to you, people that are experts in different things. And I think also for people, like for younger people that are just coming into the workforce, a lot of times we think jobs are cool. We're like, oh my gosh, I want to be a business analyst. You don't even know what a business analyst does. Like, actually find a business analyst, sit down with them, shadow them, find out if that's something that you can see yourself doing or that you want to do. I know that sometimes in Zambia, like in Kitwe, I don't know if it's the same in Osaka, sometimes you just have to do a course because that's the only one you've been allowed to get on. But you don't have to stay in Zambia. Like, there's the whole world. You can venture out and you can try and find your way in a different location if that's not, if Zambia isn't providing what you need. Maybe you need to go to Kenya, maybe you need to go to Nigeria. I think just have an open mind. And if the thing that you want to do is that big and that important to you, you should kind of do whatever it takes to get there.
Yeah. 100%. You mentioned therapy and just you reflecting on yourself, spending time with yourself. And a lot of people might spending time with yourself means actually being in a state of singleness, rather not entertaining other energies, like other influences from the outside. It might be you just refraining from being in a relationship for a particular period of time and just try to think about what's the next plan, what's the next goal, and look at your passions, because I feel passions and give purpose, and that purpose will lead you into other ventures as well. Like your passion will lead you to learn a new skill that is related to that passion, and so on and so forth, until you become a connoisseur of something. Like, sorry for using that. You become like a vessel. I think that's a vessel of skill, of just experience, in a way, to become a better teacher of men.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but I think, definitely, I think being single, that's definitely a good one. But I think just having time, like, say, even if it's 20 minutes in a day, and finding maybe something structured, like, the book I showed you, this book has questions and stuff that you can ask yourself. But maybe for some people, maybe if they sit down on their own, they'll start thinking of this thing I have to do and that thing. So maybe it's best to have a structure. So maybe finding something online or those videos that give you a structure of ways to think through. But but I think it is good to reflect, because you need to know what you think, what's going on in your own head. Sometimes people only think when they're asked a question, and that's a bit worrying.
Yes. Okay, anyways, I think it's also upbringing. I've never been in that place. Like, my parents used to be very charismatic with education. Like, even I think my very first toys were educational, and they deliberately picked colorful things that would push me to be like one of the my favorite earliest gifts that they gave me was this Formula 1 cars. Yeah, so they bought this book with Formula 1 cars all over the book. And I'm like, awesome, they've gotten me this book, this is nice. I flip it and it's algebra, and I'm in grade 4. I'm like,
oh, wow.
So I think...
like your parents, I like that.
Yeah, I think there's some, I think for me specifically, maybe that's why I don't have that wait for someone to ask the question, wait for someone to tell me. I think I usually go for it like, what's new? I have to do this. All right, let me do it. Let me just jump to it.
That's because you're in tune with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And most people do not have that. It might not even translate to their upbringing. It might just be
Even society.
their circle is just normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
like for
it's
instance,
the
so
yeah.
for us, it's like this. It's like this. We are in our circle. We're the three of us, right?
Yeah.
And from the three of us, we are motivated to pursue a lot of things, and that's a very important factor. Despite us being in other circles, but those other circles are not very much important as compared to our circle. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's very important to have. Sorry, my battery is saying. Yeah, so it's very important to be influenced by a perfect, like Louis mentioned, a perfect God-fearing circle. It's like iron sharpening iron.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
I
I
think
think my battery is
the worst thing is like in our society, especially in Zambia, there's that group mentality. It's either we're all sheep in the group. Like I've been trying to replace my NRC 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
I need to get mine sorted. Yeah.
now you find a lot of guys are complaining outside, and I'm like, how many of you are actually going to go and ask the officers in front there? Though of course someone got slapped.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah, but then there's also oh, we're all young. That these are 27 to 30-year-old guys. Oh, we're young, we're drinking, we're having fun, and then they're like, okay guys, I feel like I'm nowhere right now, but you guys are just too comfortable because you're worse than me. You know that it's very it's terrifying. Like when I think about all the potential that they have, like that we have as youth, whether in Zambia or outside, it's enormous. It's something so great that we can take advantage of it, but because of the circles, I think the way, like what you guys were saying, it takes a lot just to break through that norm. It's like you're reprogramming or something. I don't know. Like before Moses and Tumelo, I had friends, but all of them just felt like outsiders. Like when I want to take those big steps, they're always taking 10 behind. Yeah, like are we going to do this? And I'm like, I've learned all this stuff, I've picked up all these skills, you guys can't even pick up one, you know, that type of thing. But
wow.
Yeah, but then when it came to Moses and Tumelo, they've been adding elements, things that actually scare me. That's why when we have talks with some business type things, like some clients and stuff, when Moses is there, I just go like, yeah, I've got a gun here.
I want to see Moses in action.
Oh, he's dangerous. He's dangerous.
I love it.
So, if you had one word, like looking at what we have talked about and your experiences, like who you were before and the way you carry your clients or your viewership, what words do you have for them as a skills trainer? And also, especially as a Christian, like what powerful message would you have for them, especially in the coming few months? Because this C thing is still carrying on.
So, okay, as a Christian, I definitely, it's Proverbs 16, you know, man, we as people, we plan what we want to do and we say we're going to go here, we're going to go there, but the answer is always from God. So if you commit your plans to God, he'll bring them to success. So that's one thing that I always live by. Proverbs 16 is one thing. Proverbs 16, 1-3 is what I live by. And I also like the saying, which is, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. So I think for everybody listening, you know, you're maybe just fresh out of uni or you've been working for a few years, like I would say don't give up. Like no one tells you the journey is going to be hard. Everyone makes it seem like it's going to be easy once you graduate or, you know, once you've entered into your new project. But just keep working on yourself. If you feel like you can't do something, learn how to do it. Find people who can help you. Find mentors, find coaches, find your circle. And I think that you'll be on the right journey. So yeah, that's what I'll tell them.
I learned something new. If you believe that you can or cannot, then it's true. I love that. Like it's terrifyingly true.
Should I find who said that?
yeah, I think you can find it. I like those types of thinkers.
So Luwi, going forward, what does it mean for Kingdom Life Coach? What's in stock, and just to wrap up?
So what's in stock for Kingdom Life Coaching? I see Kingdom Life Coaching as just the bedrock for so many different things, and I'm not going to limit it. I'm not going to limit God with it. Definitely want to do a podcast. Definitely want to start doing some videos, events, courses. I want to do a lot of collaborations. I know a lot of people who are like psychologists, people who are, you know, who are older than me, who've been doing these things for 10 years that I want to collab with. So that's what you're going to be seeing from me in the next few years.
There's a lot to expect.
How can people reach you?
So Kingdom Life Coach on Instagram, and then you can email me at info@lifecoaching.co.uk. Yeah.
So in fact, I like, you know, Moses, I told you this outside the podcast. Moses, her invites, her Zoom invites, do you see how it came, bro?
Yeah, I was very intimidated.
Did you see?
Oh, we got numbers. Sorry about that.
I was like, wow. I was like,
oh, by the way, the quote is by Henry Ford. The guy that
dope. Yeah, the Ford guy. Dope.
The Ford guy.
Yeah.
We've actually reached it, and I'm so grateful to you, Luwi, for giving us an extra 17 minutes. This has been an awesome podcast, and we are so grateful to have you. We pray that you may persist and continue doing magnificent things. We want to hear more and hopefully have another podcast, maybe with a different kind of theme, because now we've seen your way and our way. Let's see if we can make a third way. And so I think you can call yourselves out as we close. This was Muka.
Moses.
Luwi Luwaya.
And this was the Ethos podcast with the legendary Luwi. And we are out.
Bye, guys.
Bye.